Hi, my name is Brad Heiser, and what I'm going to be sharing with you today is a project I've been working on and an idea I've actually had for a really long time, and that is a way to teach the overall arcing story of the gospel through Minecraft. And I am an MACE student with an emphasis in children's ministry, so if I can put one of these in somebody's hand and have it teach them the gospel or have it talk to them about the gospel, there's a 99% chance that they will listen and they will at least pay attention. So I'll be able to kind of break that awkward barrier, maybe get to, some of their interests. So I'm going to be splicing in some footage. Hopefully this works well. But the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start. I've just created a world. This is kind of like the table of contents. You can skip ahead to any of the chapters. We're going to start here with this first button. And it does take a little bit of time to load in and to render. But the first chapter, if you will, that I'm going to be teaching is the chapter of creation. So in the beginning, the earth was formless and void. This room is completely dark. It's a giant box, and there's nothing in here. When I click this, I will go to the next room. It's kind of like a playthrough slideshow. The Spirit of God was hovering above the waters, so you can see we've got a globe here made out of blue, in this case actually blue concrete, but it looks like water. Push the button, move to the next room. God spoke and said, "Let there be light." Then I've got a switch on the wall behind me here, so when I come flip this switch, I've actually got a sun up in the corner that turns on and off, and this is something my son and I have talked about doing. He's got I have a 12-year-old son who thinks there are some better ways to do that, but God spoke and said, "Let there be light." Then God separated the land from the water. He created the plants and animals, but his greatest creation was next. So one of the really cool things about this is something that somebody could kind of fly through and, they could play around in this area. They could make, they could put in their own stars and their own moon. I've got just a really simple beginnings of a continent here. But this is kind of something that maybe you could work on with your students and have them help you create, a continent and really engage that part of their brain, the creative part of their brain. Then the next part of creation is the story of Adam and Eve. So, the idea of this would be that, this is something that maybe you could potentially develop to the level that you could give it to them and it would walk through the entire story of Scripture. But I'm kind of designing this as hey, hop in this game with me and play with me, and I'm going to tell you the story of Scripture while we look at, all of these great visuals. So we've got the Garden of Eden with our stick figure Adam and Eve. Notice they are naked. They don't have any clothes on. I've got on the tree on the left here is the tree of life, and the one on the right with the big looking fruit is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So we've got Adam and Eve in here taking care of the garden. I've got a chest showing that they've got absolutely everything they could possibly need. They are, and if I fly up, you can see that this garden does go on for a substantial distance, that they're kind of given free rein to kind of do what they please, but they chose. Instead, we see that this next slide has the serpent, and I did get some artistic, consulting from my 6-year-old as well as my 12-year-old. My 15-year-old didn't really want to participate, but here we see I've got the tree from the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Adam and Eve are looking at this. They're tempted. We got this giant snake coiled around the tree. And as you know, Adam and Eve chose to eat the fruit. And because of that, God took them out of the garden. And this playable world, once they leave the garden, I've got some invisible blocks here where they literally can't get back in. Once they're out of the garden, they can't ever go back in the garden. And then we've got our kind of silly, blocky Minecraft angel standing here with a flaming sword. So we see The next phase in the story, God clothed them, and they had to leave the garden. So we've got Adam and Eve now wearing the leather clothes that God created for them. The next step, they're going out kind of into a more barren wasteland than obviously the Garden of Eden, which we're leaving behind. I have the desire to add several more chapters in, and I've actually got the placeholders in place, but I haven't, these could take quite a bit of time. So the essential next step in Scripture is, you've got sin, Genesis 3:5, right there. I would explain how God from the very beginning is telling them, that don't worry, I have a plan. And then we skip ahead, and I would even do the birth of Jesus, the miracles from the life of Jesus and Jesus' ministry. But we're going to skip right on ahead to Jesus' crucifixion. So we've got the 3 crosses on a hill, and this area is kind of a little more somber. There's really not a lot of cool stuff to look at, kind of more reflective. So Jesus was crucified, followed the path to his tomb. So if we run down this way, we can see there is a path that goes down the mountain and around a bend a little bit. And down here, we've got a tomb. The path leads directly to the tomb. And there is a giant stone boulder here. And because this is meant to be interactive, the kids could potentially break through the boulder and come in and see. This is what my son suggested was the best option for Jesus' body wrapped in linens in a dark tomb. I've actually got the ability to reset this. So if I click here on this button, it fixes my hole in my boulder. And we tell the story of how Jesus was dead and he died and everybody was sad. And the story of the women who come back to the tomb, and they find on the 3rd day, the tomb looks a little more like this. The stone has been rolled away. It is light. There's light shining from inside, which is a little hard to see in Minecraft. The linen cloth is folded on the stone where Jesus' body lay. And at this point, you have to decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to choose to follow Jesus and accept God's free gift of grace, or am I going to choose to reject God's grace? And so let's say, for example, if they chose to go to heaven and accept God's grace, then this is a little bit silly, but making giant cities of gold is takes a lot of time, as you can imagine. So that's begun, but it really hasn't. That's something that's going to take me, tens or hundreds of hours to complete and make it look really neat. But I put a placeholder in here. So we've got just a giant room that is white. So this is snow. Everything in here is covered with snow. Any attempt to show that what heaven will be like will fail. Will fall terribly short of how great it will be. Please use your imagination to think of a place where there is no effect of sin. There's no death, no illness, and no sadness. We will be in God's presence forever. And really, this would be a great time to have just a conversation of like, what do you think heaven would be like? And we've got this blank slate. Outside of this room, I've actually got a larger box that's blank. It's white. And I would give them the opportunity to maybe sketch up some things of what they think heaven might be like. So if we go back to the beginning, this takes us all the way back to the beginning. I want to skip ahead to that final choice. So we've got the choice. So if I hit this button, it'll take us back to that choice. If they choose instead, and kids are going to do this, they'll probably all choose to go to heaven first. But then they will all choose to see what hell looks like. And so this will take a second to load. A little spooky, a little creepy. Yeah, Minecraft has some of that kind of imagery built in, which is kind of neat. That I don't have to create some spooky type stuff. It just naturally happens. But we come out of the portal and everything's kind of wavy, and we step forward and we immediately fall into some fire. And then in our confusion, we step forward a little more and fall into a giant pit where we're at the bottom of this pit. And I just have some signs that saying this is a place of eternal torment. Welcome to hell. And then at this point, the children would be stuck here. There's no way to get back. And this would be a really great opportunity to have conversations about the eternality of our decisions. And of course, as you know, all kids are going to want to play around with this. They're all going to want to, go through and break things and rebuild things. And that's kind of one of the neat things about this would be that if we, I'm going to use this with the kids at church. Maybe one Wednesday night when I'm teaching our kids club, I can bring in the TV and bring in my Xbox in, and we can all just sit down and I can tell them the story of the gospel. And then we can, there are ways to save copies of this world and distribute them so people can have copies of it. I do want to put a significant amount of work into this. So if I go back to the table of contents, this is something I really, the guided experience really works, but if you want to skip ahead, I have the creation and the Garden of Eden, we walked through those. I would like to add Noah, the story of Noah, and Moses. And, so with Moses, we could do, not only him leading them out of Israel, but they could, we could do, the golden calf when Moses comes down the mountain and finds them all. I have some ideas of how to kind of sketch that up. David, we have the David and Goliath, and, David just bringing the Ark of the Covenant in Jerusalem. There's some cool things we can do there. I really, really want to do, especially since it's Christmas time, really focus on the birth of Jesus, but I want to do a stable scene. And I probably will actually do that before Christmas, on my own time, after all of my final stuff is turned in, after the paper's turned in, after this is turned in. Some miracles. I have got a cool idea for how to have Jesus walking on water in Minecraft. And actually, I think, let me look and see if I've got this set. I've even created a skin that looks kind of Jesus-like, so I can have somebody come in with me and with this skin on, and just kind of interact like they're doing some miracles. We've got the cross, obviously, the choice where you choose, do you choose to accept God's gift or not? And then heaven. The shortcut to hell doesn't work for Minecraft reasons, but really, I just, kids, it's so easy to get their attention with screens, and I love it and I hate it. But I am looking forward to using this, and I'm glad that this class gave me the opportunity to do something kind of wacky and off the wall. I had something cool and wacky in my Trinitarianism class with Dr. Harrell, and I just had so much fun doing it. I was excited when I saw this opportunity come up again, but I'm looking forward to taking this gave me the opportunity to kind of build the foundation. And I'm going to be able to expand this and move this along into something that we'll be able to use for years and years to come. And, my wife is like, well, hey, is there a way we can use this in your future ministry? And, maybe you have a Minecraft ministry. I'm like, oh gosh, that would be a lot of work and a lot of fun. We'll see where it goes. But yes, eventually, this could go as deep as you want it to. You could use this to really explain some deep fundamentals of theology, some really complex stuff. But Minecraft is for kids. My goal is aiming a little lower and spreading the gospel to kids. So that's kind of why I took the path that I did. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that I hope that this kind of lands the way that I want to. And Merry Christmas. Thanks so much.